So on this journey of baseball, to kind of take you back through it, I played in high school and college until I was like 22 years old. I tried out for the major leagues, and I always did well. Like I made the cuts of the top players in the combine events before the scouts, but I never got a call to come be a professional baseball player. And I don't blame them because I was a good average small college baseball player, but only once in a while would you see as a catcher my arm would really zip the ball down to second base. Only every once in a while would I do that great as a batter. And so I was done, and I wasn't really around a league that I knew about or could play in, because back then you got to keep in mind there was no internet really. People didn't post like, hey, here's this baseball league for adults that you can play in. So I didn't get to play baseball for 20, let's just call it 23, 25 years until it was, and it hurt me so much because I felt like God called me to play baseball. I feel like one of the ministries of my life where I was going to serve him and point the way to Jesus was simply by enjoying and playing the game of baseball. And that never came to fruition. It just never happened because after college, I was done and there was no opportunities for me to play. So I was hurt so badly because I loved baseball so desperately, and it was like a big joy in my life that I could barely enjoy watching the game myself just because I wanted to be playing it. So for about 20, 23 years, I would say there was nothing about baseball in my life. And then as an older guy in my 40s, I joined the Corps of Cadets at Texas A&M, which is a military-based leadership organization. One of the largest, I think it's the largest group of cadets in the entire world. And in that experience, some of the cadets were like, hey, you used to play college baseball, so come play with us. And I'm like, no, man, I can't play anymore. I used up all my college eligibility. And they're like, it doesn't matter. Just come play with us. Well, turns out I was still good somehow, even after not throwing a baseball for like 23 years. My arm was really good. And I played in a few games, but the league officials were like, hey, this guy can't play baseball because he used up all of his eligibility in the 4 years he played way back in his 20s in college. So they kicked me off the team. They're like, he can't play. And I was devastated. I was like, Lord, why would you do this to me? It hurt so bad to lose baseball originally when I was a kid. And now you brought it back into my life, even though I wasn't planning for anything with baseball. And you opened my heart to the game again. And then you took it away again because I'm not eligible to play, because the Corps of Cadets team was a Division II, very serious official team, in college baseball. And so there I was without baseball again. But I just felt like, well, Lord, why would you bring baseball into my life and then take it away again? That doesn't make sense. And so through the quiet, subtle voice in the back of my spirit, I felt like I discerned the Lord telling me, well, like, just keep practicing. And so for 3 years by myself alone in my yard, I just threw a ball into a net. That's all I did as a pitcher for 3 years. And then finally,
and not only did you throw the ball into the net, you taught yourself multiple pitches. You taught yourself how to pitch the slider and curveball and things, and you practiced different pitches and you practiced different techniques. It's not like you just went out in the yard and lobbed the ball around. Like, you took it very seriously. And for 3 years, there didn't seem to be any reason. You just felt called that this was what you're supposed to do, and you took it very seriously. You did stretches, you looked up exercises, you really just put your whole heart and soul into it with no guarantee that anything was ever going to come out of it except just throwing in the yard all the time.
That's right. And the great thing is you were very encouraging about it, because I'd be in the yard by myself throwing like an idiot at 40, something years old. And I'd be like, this is stupid. What am I doing? Nothing's ever going to happen. I'm just some middle-aged guy. And for one, you would say, well, are you having fun doing it? And I'd be like, yeah. And you're like, then just keep doing it and have fun. I was like, okay. Along with that, though, I feel like in the back of my spirit, I would discern the Lord telling me the same thing. I'd be like, Lord, this is stupid. What am I doing? I'm wasting my time. I would just kind of understand. The Lord would be like, well, are you having fun? I'm like, yeah. And then he would say, then just keep practicing. And so that's what I did. And you're right. I've started to forget these things because this is like years ago now. But like, it was just me throwing into a net by myself. And I would try to figure out different pitches because I was a catcher growing up. And I did pitch here and there in college whenever they need like a spare arm. And my arm was always very strong, very good. but it was just me getting up on the mound and throwing the ball. Like, I don't even know what seams I used, you know? So I had to figure out over those 3 years by myself, being faithful to do what I think God was calling me to do, of figuring out like, okay, 4-seam fastball does this, 2-seam fastball does this, how to throw a curveball to where it really works and a slider and all that. I did also go to a baseball training facility in College Station for a little bit, but I was a graduate student and we could not afford for me to go very much because it was like $100 a lesson. And I got some tips and tricks and thoughts and some training techniques from 2 of the professionals there, which is fantastic. And I carried that into my own training, but mostly it was just me. And one of the pitches that I picked up over that time is the knuckleball, which is arguably the hardest pitch to throw because typically the baseball spins when you throw it, and you want it to have a whole bunch of spin because when you do that, it can move different directions. Well, the point of the knuckleball is you hold it in a way and you throw it, you kind of just push it out of your hand, and it does not rotate. It does not spin at all. It just kind of does this, and because of that, it just floats and is prone to any variations in wind patterns or air and all that, which makes it really, really cool. And it was like, I felt like the Lord called me to work on that pitch too. And along with me kind of figuring things out, I remember trying to hold the knuckleball different ways, and it just was never really working until in my spirit, I felt like the Lord said, hey man, try it with 3 fingers, against the seams. And it took a while, but it started to work like that, to where I throw the knuckleball. I will never forget my very first time of throwing the knuckleball in a game. I hadn't played baseball in years and years. I come to the Houston Baseball Association. I tried out, and that team called the Hellcats picked me up. I did a bullpen for the coach, and then I went into the game as a relief pitcher. And for the very first batter, I threw a fastball and then a slider, which are kind of controllable pitches. And then it was like I just felt the Lord saying, all right, man, now let's do this knuckleball. And I shook the catcher off until he called knuckleball. And in my conversation, as I'm getting ready to pitch, I'm looking into the batter there with the umpire and fans in the stands. I'm like, okay, Lord, either this pitch works or it doesn't, and all of this is fake because this is the hardest pitch to throw. So my very first game back, I throw the knuckleball, and it comes out of my hand, surprisingly, and floats around. Strike. The batter swings right through it. It was amazing. It was like the Lord actually had his hand on what he was doing. And those 3 years of me practicing by myself in the dark, without knowing what's going on, finally came to fruition in that moment, throwing the hardest pitch in the game for a strike. And it's like, whoa, this is real. This is real. God has me doing something here.
It's like a movie, because it's like you can imagine the whole buildup of this guy, just trying and working through life. And then that would be like the last shot. He throws the knuckleball, and it'd be like a strikeout where the guy goes down on his knee, and it's like a movie. You're living your own movie.
That's what I like to live anyways. I think about, okay, what would the heroic character in this movie do? And I try to do that myself, because what else is there to do in life but try to have fun and live adventuresome for the Lord? That's the whole goal. So that's a little bit of my journey as a baseball player coming back to the game in my late 40s. It's definitely fun. I have to admit that I have more fun, much more fun now in my late 40s playing baseball than I did when I was a kid in high school and college, because when I was in high school and college, I felt like I had the calling from the Lord that I was going to play baseball to glorify Him. And what I mean is to point the way to Him, because that was my plan, to be a Major League Baseball superstar and use all of that to point all the glory to the Lord. Well, It didn't happen. And looking back, I know why, because I was so focused on winning and trying to be the best and all of the aspects that don't matter, really. It's about enjoying the game and lifting people up around you. And I didn't do that when I was a kid, because I took it so seriously that there was no joy in it. And I would lose more and more, and I would perform not as good more and more, simply, I think, because I was so focused on winning and getting to the major leagues that I just took it for granted. I just didn't have any joy in it. So now, after, let's say, 23, 25 years of not getting baseball at all, and now that I'm back in it, man, I don't take anything for granted. I just simply enjoy it. And what I want to do is spread that joy to the people on my team, to the people in the league, and anybody that has to be watching. Because at the end of the day, I'm super grateful for what the Lord has done for me in just the game of baseball. And I want to use whatever He gives me all of the drama and point to him and say, no, I'm not perfect. I fail. I load the bases. I get exhausted from heat stroke, in the sun, but still, I'm just grateful to be here because of what the Lord has done in my life. And that is very freeing. And that joy, I think people can see in me.
I think so too, and I think that it really helps them to loosen up and enjoy the game, and not be, of course, be competitive. It's a competitive league, but really focus more on the blessing of being able to do what you're doing, and getting to be part of something so exciting.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what the Lord does with me on this journey of faith to play baseball. But at the same time, it's already been joyous and fun to see what he has done at 49 years old. So there was a movie called Fever Pitch, which with Drew Barrymore and Jimmy Fallon. It just happens to be when the Boston Red Sox broke the curse and they won the World Series back in 2004. They beat the Yankees in the ALCS, the championship series, but then they went on to win the World Series. There's a moment that you may not even really catch, but they're in the concession stand area, and Jimmy Fallon says, "What I love about baseball is you can't fake it. It's real. You can either hit a curveball or you can't." And what I took away from that is, like, please hear me on this. I'm not like judging or all that, but what I'm saying is, like, baseball is super hard. You cannot fake all of these different things that happen. Sure, there are some teams out there that can cheat and figure out ways to steal signs and all that, but like the game of baseball is not manipulated in the way that you see other aspects of life or sports being manipulated, okay? Baseball is straight up. And that's what I like about it, because when I try to throw a knuckleball, I have no idea where it's going to go. When I get up on the mound, I don't know if I'm going to win or lose. And that, to me, is what makes it so rich. You just don't know, because baseball is real. And if you're looking for something in your life to where you can get rid of all of that control, which seems great, it's like we have control, we can make the decisions. I understand that desire. I get it. Like, I want to control. I want to get up there on the mound and I want to throw strikes and I want to win. I want that. But also, what's real is in the success and failure that you don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen when I throw a pitch. And that's what makes it so rich. And I want that for you. I want that for you. The Christian life, a lot of times, is about following Jesus where he calls you and letting go, because you don't know what's really going to happen. And sure, you can get understandings and discernments of maybe where the Lord is taking you, but at the end of the day, it's about stepping out on faith. And that's what makes it so real, because in that way, you let go of the control. And in that, you are free, because Jesus frees you. So my encouragement to you is in all of our desires to control and to win, God calls us to let go. God calls us to let go. And I see the game of baseball as the game that cannot be faked. And I want that for you. Where are you in your life that you are having all of that control and you're holding on so much that it's actually not good for you? Let go. Let go. Step out on faith. Drop your need to control everything and see what the Lord does with it.